diversion ends up being a deflection of fear. That's what ends up happening. You gotta process your fear and all your feels and be like, okay, let me sit with this. It's gonna work. It is working. Let me just sit down. Sometimes that's hard, especially when you have been in some of these scenarios that we've talked about where you are always in a constant state of having to achieve based off of someone else's expectations, and you know that you can't fail because of multiple things. You can't keep taking that with you for the rest of your adult life because it's not healthy for the person that you are. That was an organization's expectation of you, but that's not how you want to live your life. Welcome back to session 112, Trust the Process. Today's mood music is brought to you by Jill Scott Golden, and it debuted in 2004.
Y'all better go get the CD.
Jilly from Philly.
Okay.
She said, holding on to my freedom.
Yes. So, I don't know what that was, but okay. Okay. I didn't see the lip movement. So trusting the process, it means allowing life to be what it is without maneuvering, manipulating, or trying to control your thoughts, behaviors, or just the situation at home. So my question is, does trusting the process mean do nothing?
Sometimes. Because sometimes things are happening outside of your control. And that's part of the process. Like you either sought assistance from somebody, you need assistance from somebody, or you're waiting on an outcome that you've already worked on to take, hold, root, and expand. So I do think that sometimes trusting the process is like, stay still.
I agree. I think it is a combination of things. I do think when you are trusting the process, you are working, but it doesn't mean that you're doing it just to work. It means, okay, I have this game plan. I'm working my game plan to the best of my abilities. And sometimes that is going to mean you just keep doing what you're already doing, which is normally the rest, the waiting room that we hate to be in.
And so I agree with both of you. I would also add, sometimes it means that you still have to take the next step. But so for example, if you want to, go up in the company that you're working for, you're going to have to apply for it. Like, you may know somebody up, the chain, and they may come and ask you, hey, we have this position coming up. I think you should apply for it. But again, they say, I think you should apply for it. So you still have to move. You still have to do something. But I do agree, sometimes you do have to sit still, but you have to know the difference.
Absolutely. That's an important part of this whole thing, is knowing the difference between when action is necessary and when inaction is necessary. We've all said before, like, sometimes not making a choice is a choice. So, not moving is still moving. I know that's an oxymoron and that don't really make sense, but because I am allowing things to progress on their own without my influence, sometimes I'm going to get the thing that I want. We've all heard before, you can stand in the way of your own blessings by being too vocal, being too hands-on, and you don't need to be.
So why do y'all think people get to the point where they don't trust the process?
I mean, they be tired, frustrated, entitled sometimes. It's not always because they've they're actually doing the work. Sometimes it's just that people assume I should be given something. So it kind of depends on what side of that spectrum they're on. But I definitely think it's important to realize that there is a necessity of working your plan. And I think a lot of times people don't have a plan. So they just be running amok doing stuff.
Yeah.
And I would say, at least for me, I've gone on this like roller coaster of trusting the process. And I think part of it is because I believe in God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. I try to have my faith as my means of trusting the process. And sometimes God has not always allowed things to happen the way I notice I said I wanted it to happen. And so because of that, it has halted my ability to trust the process. I think later, like now in my life, I'm learning to trust the process more, meaning for me, trusting God more, because He's done so much to stretch my faith. But it's not easy to do that. Even now, I mean, like I have my faith, but still when stuff still like, yeah, but God, I could just do it. Just let me do it. I still want to take it back. You know, I try to cast all my cares onto you, God, but sometimes I take it back.
Right.
And then I give it back to you.
Yeah. I think trusting the process is also about your ability to be adaptable. I think like what you were talking about, Dr. Jage, is, you know, you have this one vision, and sometimes the vision is too simplistic or not enough.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes what is actually coming, you know, down the line is so much greater, so much, you know, more beautiful than what we could have ever imagined, because we are thinking too small. And so if you don't give yourself the opportunity to be adaptable or be flexible, you really are limiting that thing that you're trusting the process for.
Yeah. Another aspect that I was thinking about is, did you even see people waiting and being patient for success and things to come your way? You know, if I grew up in a house where people quit the first time there's adversity, then I don't even know how to sit and develop the idea of trusting, you know, my own skills, trusting other people. So if I don't have the background, it's going to be very easy for me to be mistrusting or lack the effort because I don't see other people pushing through or you know, going the distance when some things fail. You know,
Speaking of failure, you know, why do y'all think that so many folks believe that failure is not a part of that process? Like, why is it only winning? Because the song that's playing in my head is the song that Beyonce sings where she says, "A winner don't quit on themselves." And I'm just like, that means that there was failure. But you didn't stop. It's like, oh, okay, well, let me figure something else out. You know, but why do y'all think that happens so often?
So ask the question one more time so I can make sure I answer correctly.
Why do y'all believe that folks don't understand that failure is a part of the process of succeeding or winning?
I think it's because of how society teaches failure. We believe that failure, especially with Christian, if we fail at it, then it must not be God, what God wanted you to have.
You wasn't sent. You didn't follow His anointing.
Right.
That's not
what that means. Because sometimes His delay is not a deny. So which one is it? You know?
Yeah.
So I believe it's how society teaches about failure. We, like, even now, they let all the babies get a trophy, both teams. Like, why? Why you setting them up for failure? Now they think that they're supposed to win everything, and every time somebody is celebrated, they're supposed to be celebrated too. Now you creating some entitled people.
Reminds me of parents who, when one of the kids has a birthday, they be talking, "Can y'all bring a little something for the other kid?" No, it ain't their birthday.
Exactly.
Right.
I don't know them kids like that on that day. I know them on their birthday. That's when I know them.
Yeah.
I think another thing is that we don't externalize and internalize, that whole locus of responsibility and locus of control, right? We individually, of course, there's spectrum for all this, but individually, a lot of us tend to externalize our failures. Like some people externalize and say, like, I failed because this thing happened to me, or this situation occurred. And then on the flip side, you have people that internalize their failure as it's about me. And
I'm not good enough.
Right.
I'm not worth it.
So I think it really depends on what camp you fall in, on how you internalize or externalize any situation in your life. Because even for success, there are going to be people that externalize their success and give all the praise to everybody else and not say that they worked hard to do it. And vice versa for people that, will internalize their success, that it was only me. And, nobody was there to, help me along the way. So I think there's this element of where do you place this control and this responsibility on, why it can be difficult for people to go through and understand that failure is going to happen. But if you don't know like where or why I view it that way, then I don't really know what to do with it. I'm just kind of sitting here like, well, I mean, it's your fault. You didn't give me, when I asked you to insert whatever question, you didn't do that. So that's why I didn't fail. I failed my test.
And I also think it's tied to rejection. We don't want to try because we're afraid of failure, because we don't teach people how to bounce back. Like failure doesn't mean that all is lost. I agree. That just means you need to create a different way to either get it, or create a different means to get it, or create something different.
Or learn your lesson.
And learn your lesson. Yes.
Not for. I agree with all of that. Fear is such a weird feeling. It's a motivator, but it's also a
hostage holder.
Yes, I was like, I don't know if there's a single word like
paralytic.
Thank you. I was like, stopper.
and you know what? That because I tend to tell my clients that do struggle with fear is like, you're using fear wrong. You're allowing fear to hold you hostage in a corner and not allow you to move past what you're fearing, instead of allowing fear to push you into that thing.
Yeah. And I agree. Failure and working through that is a part of that whole like trust development. If I don't know the areas that I'm not good at, then how will I even know how to continue to maintain the ones that I am good at? Or how will I know how to grow beyond the things that I'm good at? I won't know how to pivot and, change course. Like you were saying with adaptability, I won't know anything other than I do great at this, which can lead to stagnation as well. And if I'm not moving forward, then what are you doing?
Well, and it can also
not to engage in toxic positivity, because I don't want to get caught up in that either. Like just by saying if you're not moving forward, then what are you doing? Because you do need to rest, and you do need to stay still and learn lessons sometimes. But if that's all you're doing and you're not trying to grow in any area, then we've entered a whole nother round
of failure to thrive. Because just think about if Dr. Wall and myself, we are both dancers. If we decided that the only way I'm going to be successful and be happy is to become a professional dancer, that's it. once we got past the point of, being able to audition and succeed and, all of that stuff in dancing, if that's where we got stuck at, we would be failing to thrive right now, because that was our only way to success.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of one of the sessions we had. I think it was looking in the rear view, living in the rear view, whatever, where you get so focused on that one thing, and once you've passed that window of opportunity, you no longer value yourself, even though you still have value. You weren't able to pivot and turn that into something else because this was the only way that it could be successful.
Mm-hmm.
But I think both of us have created different ways to incorporate dance in our life. Although we did not go the make it our career route, that's fine. We're still happy with what we've done to implement it in our life.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
And I look back on it now, I'm like, I don't like people. So, when you become a for real paid background dancer, like, you don't get a whole bunch of say, especially the era that we would have been dancing. It wasn't, Beyonce wasn't Beyonce then. It's not, no, I'm taking care of all my dancers, making sure y'all, no. You probably gonna have to be in pairs so that you don't have no problems with nobody on the tour. You're not gonna have the best accommodation. You're not gonna be getting food all the time. Like, living that lifestyle, the music industry is very difficult. So if that's the only way that you're successful, it's not gonna work out well. So even like people that I admire now, you see them, yes, they've choreographed for celebrities, they dance for celebrities, but they also teach classes, they have books, they have merch. Like, it is a very diversified situation.
Yeah, I agree.
How do you guys think trusting the process is like correlated or combined with trusting others? Because we've talked about trusting the process that you're going through, but if you're watching like another person go through transformation, change, there's a part of that where you got to trust that process that person is working through.
Okay.
So meaning you're trusting their process?
Right. So like, we have a relationship, right? I see that you're struggling with something, but I can't get you through this thing. I can only support you. I can only be there as a
support,
either a guide or a support system, a listening ear, a shoulder to cry on. But I also have to sit and trust the process that you're going to do the things to improve and not fall back. So like, when you don't have the control over the other person, like, how do you think that trust works in a system like that?
I think it's a combination of two things. The first being, what we talked about in session 110, being able to provide empathy, humbling yourself, and making sure you're in a secure place while the other person is going through whatever they're going through, and also as you support them through that. But the other part, to quote my favorite little white child, is worry about yourself.
Worry about yourself.
Like, it's a combination of looking out for your people in your life, but you still got to remember that is their process, and you are you're not the main character in their life. They are. So you got to play your supporting role and not, go too far.
In addition to that, because I do agree, in addition to that, I would say it's, for me, it's more about me paying attention to when God wants me to step in, because I can prolong somebody's blessing if I step in, because God may be wanting them to have faith or strengthen their faith. And so if I step in and God hadn't told me to step in, then I'm allowing them to rely on me and not God. And so now right. And then what God could possibly then snatch finances, house, or whatever from me, because you just go, oh, you're not gonna ask? Okay, let me. you know. And so I tried now granted, when I was younger, I would just jump in because, you know, I like to help people and,
Yeah.
you know, but now I try to be wise with decisions that I make when I jump in, because now I feel like they have to trust the process. It's not up to me to trust the process. I just have to know, hear you talk, hear you vent, and hear what your plan is. Like, I try to ask questions. Well, what you gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully my asking questions will allow you or that person or whatnot to continue to figure out whatever situation.
Mm-hmm. The thing I was thinking about is patience. You know, when I or anybody is sitting by and watching somebody else go through whatever changes they're going through, like, my trust has to be based in patience. That if I rush you, like, it's kind of similar to what you were saying. Like, if I rush you, if I place my own expectations on you, if I place my own hopes or dreams onto you, then, you know, I'm not being patient with, you know, myself, or being patient with the process of you learning the lesson that you need to learn.
Yeah. And it's not always a fire that needs to be put out.
I agree.
Sometimes it's literally just a process. It's not good. It's not bad. It's not negatively stressful. It's just, you know, normal stress. And it's a process to go through. And I think sometimes we jump so quickly to save those that we love, or on the nosy person side, to be in somebody's business, that we don't give the person an opportunity to figure out what it is they want and how they want to develop that, you know. And I think that can be a very difficult process, especially if you're close to people, because they don't want to see you struggle if you are struggling, or see certain things happening, and they have to be like, that is not my decision to make. It is their decision to make, and whatever they decide, I can show up and support them.
I agree with you. It's hard, especially when it's someone you love, or some, you know, well, if you're close to them, you probably love. So it's
Some got different types of love.
Yes, it's hard to watch them suffer, toil, confusion. It's hard for all of those, because, like Dr. Wall was saying, it's not necessarily always a big thing or a bad thing, or but even hearing someone be confused, it's like, oh, I would just tell you, if I was a little younger, I would have just told you, I wouldn't buy that car, baby. That looked like a lemon.
Right. So that makes me think about something that we've talked about before, you know, talking about gifts and things like that. And like, I process information very quickly. You know, I find things very quickly, and sometimes, like, I have to trust, like I was saying, I have to trust that this person is going to get to and find the thing that, you know, 30 seconds ago, I've already seen it, and I'm sitting there like, it's right there. It's right there.
I'm the same way. I feel like, God dang, this fast processing is messing me up.
So, you know, that's what I was thinking when I was meaning, like, trusting the process. Like, how does it relate to others? Like, you know, what does it trigger internally for you? What does it mean to visualize and watch another person, you know, struggle through? What does it mean to,
I would say for me, I'll just use dancing, because I can watch somebody do it one time and I got it, I'm good, okay. And so I started having to, like, tell the choreographer, look, I'm not doing every count or everything you do, because I already got it. I did it when you did it the first time, I got it. So I'm not trying to be disobedient. I got you. And so they were, okay, I got you. Because, you know, people will start trying to think that I'm, you know, think I'm all of that or whatever. That's not it. I got it already. So when I see people who don't have, you know, that rhythm or talent, like, I think that's when I've taken on my teacher role. Like, okay, well, you might want to move your foot to the right, just on over there, that way.
I hear you.
I think
That's me.
One of the important things, and I've had to remind myself of this because I do like to help people so much, is I don't need to center myself in your problems, because that is feeding a need that I have, and it's not always feeding a need that the other person has. So I have to like pull back when it comes to sometimes me offering suggestions or sometimes me doing things. And so what I do oftentimes is I look at, okay, well, what way can I bless them that's not going to interrupt? It might be a call. Y'all know I'm notorious for writing a note and giving it to people, or maybe it's somebody want a cheesecake this day, or maybe it's, you know, dropping a journal off. So I just do things that give like a little bit of encouragement or love, regardless of whatever the situation is that they're going through, and not me stepping in and fixing the actual problem.
Yeah, and in addition to that, I would say, so for me, I pay attention to the person. Like for Dr. Strickland, if I know she's stressed, I'd be like, hey, come on, let's go get some sushi, because we have a favorite sushi place. Let's go get some sushi. You know, if it's, you know, a family member or my mom or somebody, I'll just stay on the phone and listen. And usually, you know, people tend to understand that I'll talk to you on my ride home or on my ride here. After that, I don't want to talk. But if once I get home, you know, if my mom is still talking or whoever it is that I'm still talking, then I extend myself or my ear because they need to process.
Yeah. I think there's a give and take with this whole idea of, you know, trust the process.
Yeah.
There's a, like you said, I need to take the back seat sometimes. There's a time where I need to step into the driver's seat, and knowing, and I think we've said this already, but like knowing when to jump into each one.
Yeah.
You know, whether that's passenger, because passenger is not necessarily the same as back seat either.
Yeah. That is true.
We talking to everybody that don't like to receive help. That's what we talking to. Ourselves included.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pot, meat kettle.
So let yourself be guided. Sometimes.
I think that may need to be a session. Talking about being the driver, the passenger, and the back seat.
You just love rear view mirrors and stuff.
I love rear view mirror. You know, I love talking in metaphors because it's or in visuals, let me say. I love talking in visuals because it's easy for people to understand what you mean when you talk in visuals.
Dr. Strickland's husband, you have infiltrated her mind with cars.
Yes. He's like, finally, she came over to the dark side. But yeah, those are my, you know, basic thoughts.
I think the only other thing that comes to mind when I think about this is that journey to finding purpose, because that goes alongside with, you know, trusting the process. And I think something that Dr. J.H. touched on was knowing when to develop these things and these ideals that you wanted into other stuff, you know. So if you love dance, like the example you use, okay, that may mean, okay, let me create this side company that helps in this specific area. It's combining this and this and this. You know, it may be, you know, going and helping another agency and, you know, being with that particular population that you love. It may be writing curriculum. You know, you develop your purpose in many ways under the umbrella of your purpose, and that also allows you to become more confident and trust in the process because you're still doing. It may not be all the way to that ideal vision yet, but you're still in the process of doing.
And I'll repeat what Dr. Strickland said: be patient and don't try to put your hands in too many pots at one time. I remember working on a doctorate degree, and I was doing so many different things. And one of my girlfriends at the time was telling me, LaFanya, you have your hand in you stir in so many pots, something is gonna burn. And I was overwhelmed.
You're gonna burn.
Exactly. I was overwhelmed. I started burning. And so I had to realize that, like, even if I do want to do all of these things, I can if I want to, but I need to start with something, get um get better and good at doing that thing, and then add to whatever it is. I remember Dr. Strickland and I, when we first opened Balance Beacon, I don't know if you remember this, we had that meeting with that guy, and he was writing on a dry erase board, and he was like, don't add anything else, another different type of entity to Balance Beacon until y'all get Balance Beacon under control. And then that's when you add something else to it, and then you get that under control, and then you keep going from there.
Yeah.
And so if we don't get something under control, you'll look manic, because you'll have everything. You'll look like you're jumping ship every time.
Diversion ends up being a deflection of fear.
Mm.
That's what ends up happening.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta process your fear and all your feels and be like, okay, let me sit with this. It's gonna work. It is working.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just sit down. Sometimes that's hard, especially when you have been in some of these scenarios that we've talked about, where you are always in a constant state of having to achieve based off of someone else's expectations, and you know that you can't fail because of multiple things. You can't keep taking that with you for the rest of your adult life, because it's not healthy for the person that you are. That was an organization's expectation of you, but that's not how you want to live your life.
Mm-hmm.
So trust the process.
Mm-hmm. All right, so y'all know we always end off with a quote, and this one's brought to you by Thomas Edison. Now, I'm gonna try to get through this one time because my mouth been blah, 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 blah. It's been fumbling all day. So here we go. Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up.